You're listening to the Adventurous Reinvention podcast. I'm Allison Boyle, aka She Dreams of Alpine, and this is the show that's dedicated to all the adventurous spirits out there who have either been transformed by the outdoors or are interested in what it looks like to step into a new, adventurous, and courageous kind of identity in their life. It doesn't matter what your background is in the outdoors, what age you're starting at, or where you grew up. If you're curious about the outdoors and using adventure as a way to reinvent yourself, you're in the right place. I'll be sharing all kinds of personal adventure stories, lessons I've learned from the mountains, teaching what I know about the outdoors and leadership, and interviewing some amazing adventurous women all along the way. I've been coaching women on becoming safe, confident, and self-sufficient backpackers and leaders of their own adventurous lives since 2018, and I know exactly what big fears and self-doubts can pop up along the way. I have so much to share with you, so let's dive in. Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the Adventurous Reinvention podcast. You're listening to episode 73, and today's episode is a special one because as we gear up for our final big enrollment into our Backpacking Badass program, which is our signature backpacking course for women of 2025 for our Black Friday event that is taking place on November 17th through 21st, I thought that for this episode, it'd be the perfect time to take you back to the literal very first backpacking trip that I ever went on. This is the trip that would change everything for me, even though I didn't know it at the time. But before we dive into that episode, if you haven't yet joined our early bird waitlist for our upcoming enrollment of the Backpacking Badass program, make sure that you do that now by going to shedreamsofalpine.com/bird. I will also drop that in the show notes, but it's shedreamsofalpine.com/bird. Okay. On November 17th, we will be opening our signature backpacking course for women with with some of our literal best deals and bonuses that we offer all year long. So if you have been wanting to step into a more adventurous kind of life, to feel stronger, to feel braver, to feel like you do not have to wait on other people to invite you along in order to go out and create transformative experiences for yourself in the outdoors, then you will want to be signed up for this waitlist for this Black Friday event that we're hosting. And I know it might sound silly to sign up for a waitlist for a Black Friday event, an open enrollment, especially if you're already on my mailing list, on my newsletter. But even if you are, I want you to make sure that you join that list because early birds are getting so many extra perks. I can't even describe all the goodies that we have in store for you this year. We have a PDF guide that actually does attempt to describe some of the things, but there are also surprises that I haven't announced yet. So even if you've just been considering getting into backpacking and going out on more adventures in 2026, if you are craving to feel more of that aliveness in your life, then this is your moment. This is the event to join us in. And I want you to roll into the holidays absolutely certain that next year is going to be your most adventurous one yet and is going to open the doors to so much more than just 1 year, okay? And I'm going to help you every step of the way. So again, join that early bird waitlist now at shedreamsofalpine.com/bird. All right. Now let us rewind back to where it all began, my friends. My very, very first backpacking trip, which was in Half Dome. So I'm going to actually first start off by sort of setting the stage, especially if you're brand new to my world. So for a little bit of background, right? I actually grew up in Texas. I was 0% outdoorsy. We didn't do outdoorsy things with my family growing up. We went to the mall and we, hung out at home and we went to the movies. These were the things that we did growing up in the 90s as a kid in Texas. And my family didn't really do camping or anything like that. So I wasn't outdoorsy at all. So I didn't really have any experience like that. I did end up actually getting married quite young. So as I got older, I got married to my high school sweetheart. We got married at 19. And then I went off to college, still in Texas, but in Austin. I grew up in Houston. Went to college in Austin, Texas, and I became an engineer. And then at the end of that kind of time period, around the time that I graduated from being an engineer, I accepted an offer to move out to California for my very first engineering job. And I was also going through a divorce from the marriage that I had gotten married so young from. So I was going through a divorce. I was moving to California, and I was taking on my first big girl engineering job after graduating college. And I really remember that year being a lot for me. Like, it was a lot of change, right? And that was a lot at once. It was like new state, like getting separated from all of my friendships from college that I had made, some really close friendships too, going through that divorce. So like losing this person that had been a constant for me for a long time, because I had also been with them since high school. And then I know I was going through a bit of a depression during that time. I would like sleep so much after work. I just didn't have energy for anything. And just in general, like I was feeling very disconnected from myself. And that's kind of like where I found myself when I moved out to California. And then in kind of like a desperation to get out of that funk, to like feel something, to feel anything, right? I started to drink a lot when I moved out to California. I made friends with people at work that drank a lot, and that's like all we did. Like we went out on the weekends to drink and to party and just like lose ourselves in it all. And it was like fun for a while for me, because it like got me out of just like being in bed and laying around on my couch all the time. And I was like starting to make some friends, and that was nice. But I do remember that like that fun and that feeling of spark was like very short-lived, and it did get worse. And I started doing things and saying things that I regretted. I started losing friendships. I remember I like had a friend, one of my very best friends from college. Like I just remember her calling me on the phone and being like, I just really don't think I can be friends with you right now, because she just thought I was kind of like losing myself a little bit. I started hating feeling like I was always hungover, and I started to just really question, like, is this it? Like, this is my life now. I'm going to just like work hard, drink hard, repeat, like until the day that I die. And that kind of really kind of made me a bit sad. And I also, in the same breath, like didn't love the fact that I felt like I needed alcohol to make any kind of meaningful conversations with somebody. Because I really, like at the time when I was younger and during this time moving out to California, I really identified with being quite shy and like just didn't like make friends easy. And this was my identity. And it might be hard to tap into now, because like I have a podcast and I seem very outgoing, and people always tell me they think I'm quite extroverted, and I'm quite introverted actually. And I can be quite shy. I'm just much more practiced now and being less shy. I don't fully identify with that anymore. And that's a lot due to my transformation in the outdoors. But at the time, like I really felt like I couldn't talk to people without drinking, especially if I didn't know them already, right? So I felt really reliant on it. And after about a year of doing this to myself, I kind of just ended up feeling even more disconnected to myself than ever. And I remember January of 2013, I kind of like made this internal decision to do something different. And I didn't have this term for it at the time, but like looking back, I kind of consider it like my year of yes, because I had this internal conversation to myself where I'm like, all right, we're going to do things that we're not used to doing. We're going to go to places and not drink, but like say yes to like meeting new people and like getting out of our comfort zone and saying yes to new experiences. And it was kind of like my year of yes. And just really like trying to shake things up, see what I liked. Like also part of it was like, I don't even know what I'm into, like outside of like drinking, you know, like I didn't know what my personality was really. And I just wanted to try a bunch of things and see what kind of like stood out to me. And so I started my year of yes in January, and that was going great. I did start to see some positive changes. I was like starting to feel a little bit better. I wasn't always drinking all the time. I was like making some more meaningful connections. And I do remember there was this moment in particular where I was standing around a water cooler at work and, grabbing a coffee or something like that. And, There was a coworker that I knew like a little bit, or a geologist that I worked with occasionally. And so we were kind of friends. And I heard him talking about how he had permits to hike Half Dome. And I actually had no idea what Half Dome was. So I remember in that conversation being like, what's Half Dome? And everyone was like, you don't know what Half Dome is? Because now I know very well that it's like a very iconic, especially if you're from California, like you know what this is. It's a very iconic hike in Yosemite National Park. And yeah, it's an icon. Half Dome, she's a legend, like she's beautiful, all the things. But I had no idea. I had to look it up later. And then I was like, oh wow, this is quite interesting, like, and beautiful looking. So they were talking about it. They told me about it, and they were talking about how they were doing it as a backpacking trip over 3 days, and talking about this adventure and who was going and all these things. And I was like, wow, it just sounds really fun. That's going to be like so cool. Like I can't even imagine. And my, coworker friend looked at me and he was like, we actually have an extra spot on our permit if you want to go. And I was kind of in this like, oh crap. Like I had kind of made this commitment to myself that if people invited me to things that were outside of my comfort zone, I wouldn't just immediately say no. I would like say yes. But everything else in me was like, Allison, you have literally you've never even really hiked. Like you have never backpacked. You have no idea what you're doing. This looks hardcore. Cause like looking at pictures of it looked hardcore. And it's like, it's not a walk in the park. It's Half Dome. It is a hard hike. And I know that now, but even then I was like, this looks hard and there's no way I will probably die. And I had so much self-doubt, but because of the year, yes, I leaned in and I took a leap of faith and I said yes. And I didn't know it at the time, but saying yes to that backpacking trip would forever change my life. And it was the thing that dug me out of my hole, and it helped me find my joy and my purpose again. And it led me to my now husband that I met through the outdoors and through love for climbing that I ended up developing. And it connected me to developing some of the most amazing friendships that I now have. And of course, it took me on some of the most amazing life experiences and magical adventures than I could ever have dreamed of. But it all started with a very, very big leap of faith and a whole lot of self-doubt that I was even capable of it. Okay. So if you are ever like that, like if you're taking a leap of faith on anything, I'm sure you can relate, right? And backpacking, I know for a lot of my clients feels that way. Like, especially if they're, joining a program like ours and they're like, I don't even know if I can do this. Like, this is scary. Like, I don't know if I'll be capable, if I'll be able to like make it happen. And I just want you to like lean in to those moments, right? Because there's obviously, for me, it was like obvious there was some desire in it because I was immediately intrigued and curious about it. And I was like, okay, but like, what if I could do it? Like, what if I could do that? Like, that is the part, that's the voice you have to listen to and then lean into. Okay. And so I did. And so after this, I immediately am like panicking, and my friend, he typed me up a little Word document he was like, do you know anything about backpacking? I was like, I absolutely know nothing. And he typed me up a little bit of Word document of like things I should pack. I wish I still had that, because I would be so curious to look at that packing list now. But I took his list, and I remember like there were some things that I absolutely had to go buy from REI because I needed like a sleeping bag and like a tent. And a sleeping pad, like some core things. And then there was a lot of things on that list. I was like, I think I can make do with this or make do with that. And I didn't know anything about like layering or, it's not like my friend's packing list had a slew of education on like why certain things were important or not important. So I was just like doing my best, right? And being a little bit, we call it being scrappy. I was being scrappy, and I packed my backpack, this new green, what was it? Was it a Gregory? Oh no, it was a Deuter. I think it was a Deuter 45 liter, very, like kind of small actually, but I managed to fit 45 pounds of like stuff in it. Backpack, and which is quite heavy, especially if you've never carried a backpack on your back. It's not a pound recommendation I would give to most people. Like, sometimes you've gotta, if you're carrying lots of gear and it's for a certain particular kind of thing, like mountaineering. but this was not the deal. Anyway, so it was a heavy pack. And I remember showing up to that trip and like, I have pictures of it and I look like a total nerd and, but I'm there, I'm doing the thing, I'm showing up, like doing it, scared, all the things. And I was with a group of about 4 people that I didn't really know all that well. Like one was the geologist friend that I worked with, and the other people were closer friends of his. And we, of course, like you learn this when you go on backpacking trips, but you end up actually like really bonding a lot with people that you go on these adventures with. So I definitely made like memories, and I don't know if I ever maintained those friendships like super hardcore, but it's like we had that experience in common, and that was like a lot. So I'm kind of getting ahead of myself, but I remember like one of the core things that I remember about this trip, besides it being like one of the hardest things that I had ever done, is I remember taking the steps. It was like 3 days we broke this trip up into. We started at Happy Isle and we went up the Mist Trail to Little Yosemite Valley. And then from the second day, we did Little Yosemite Valley to the top of Half Dome and back with just day packs because we were able to like leave stuff at our campground. And then we hiked everything out the last day. So the little section, the very first day, is about 4 miles and 3,000 feet of gain to get from Happy Isle to Little Yosemite Valley. And I remember that was like so hard for me. And y'all, it took me about 7 or 8 hours to go 4 miles and 3,000 feet of elevation gain. It was one of the hardest things I had ever done in my life. I took so many breaks. I had a 45-pound pack. I took so many breaks. I had never hiked before. I'm like in boots that I've never worn before. I felt so bad for the group because I was absolutely the slowest one in the group. And I kept apologizing, but they were very patient. They were very nice. And so that wasn't like a big deal. And I was able to get over that, because a lot of times that does hold people back. They're like, I'm worried I'm going to be the slowest one. And I'm so glad that I didn't let that be the thing that held me back. And I kept persisting. And I'm grateful to have been with a group that was very patient. But to put this in perspective, I have actually gone back and done the same stretch. Like actually, I think I've done it multiple times since then, just on different various trips. And that's just an easy entry, into the backcountry in Yosemite. But I've done the same stretch, the Mist Valley or Happy Isle to Little Yosemite Valley up the Mist Trail. And that same 4 miles and 3,000 feet of elevation gain has taken me around 2-ish hours compared to the original 7 or 8 hours. So that's just to put some perspective in like, first of all, that you can grow so much from your very first few trips, like if you feel like something was so hard and so out of your comfort zone and you were so slow and it was so difficult, like hold space for the version of you that will also like be able to do something way faster in the future, because it's totally like that true. That's what happens for so many people. So anyways, it took us so long, but we prevailed. I remember one like really special moment on that trail is like when we were taking one of our breaks, we were almost to Little Yosemite Valley. We sat on this log and my friend and I think other people had gone ahead of us, and it was just like me and my one geologist friend. I'm sure he felt like most responsible for making sure that I made it to the campsite since he was the one who invited me. But we were sitting on this log and this bluebird sat on his backpack because he had taken his pack off. And he started like tearing up. And I was like, what? Like, what's going on? Like, what's happening? And he was like telling me how his grandpa had recently passed, but that like one of his grandpa's like favorite bird was this bluebird. And this bird just like hung out with us for like so long. And I just remember that being like one of my very first experiences of kind of like the unspoken magic of weird things that can happen and the way you connect with nature and the way it connects you to other people like that I had ever had. And we were just in that moment and we were like, damn, that's crazy. And that was really magical. And then we continued on and we made it to our camp and I set up my tent for the first time, and we went for a dip in the river, and it was my first time learning how to filter water. And I remember like pulling out this big water pump, filter pump that I had. It was a Hiker Pro that an REI person had recommended to me, and getting to use that for the first time. And I remember eating a dehydrated mac and cheese for the first time and learning the hard lesson that, like, for those really big dehydrated meals, then maybe rehydrate like half of it first to see if you're still hungry or not. Cause I definitely got full, but still had more mac and cheese left. I was my first going to the bathroom outside for the first time, though that campsite has actual like bathrooms. So it's kind of different. But all of these things, all of these backpacking, hiking things, it was all brand new to me at that trip. But I was like, damn girl, like you did it. Like even making it to that campsite felt like such an achievement. I was like, you made it up here. Oh my gosh, this is insane. This is so fun. And then the next day we did Half Dome with our day packs. Like we left, our heavy packs back. And that was so incredible. Like if you've never done Half Dome or seen Half Dome, it's just breathtaking. And it was so exhilarating. And even that is like challenging and mentally challenging because you have to go up these cables. And it was like so scary, but like we did it. And I could not believe like the places my legs were taking me and my lungs and my heart and all of these things. And I was like, how have I like spent my life not doing these kinds of things and seeing these kinds of spaces and like being in these moments? Like I had never felt like more alive in my life. And I felt like somebody just like ripped open a whole new world for me. And our last day, like we hiked out and I knew instantly, like getting to the bottom, I was like, oh my gosh, this is the thing. Like I just knew, I'm like, this is the thing that I'm meant to do. Like I have to do more of this. And I didn't know where it was going to take me. Like, I wasn't like in that moment thinking like, I'm going to, start She Dreams of Alpine or anything. No, I just like instantly became obsessed with like the version of me that I discovered out there on the trail. And like, I was obsessed with this version of me that could do hard things, that was braver than she thought she was, that didn't feel like she had to hide behind alcohol to have a good time. Like that felt more alive than ever, like all of the things. And that's kind of like when that trip ended, that's sort of when the hard reality of like waiting for the invite, which is something we talk about with our clients all the time. Like we want to give you the tools to make a backpacking trip and an adventure and any kind of epic adventure you want to go on happen without having to wait on other people to invite you along. Because that's kind of where I found myself. Like I got back from this trip and I was like, great, when are we planning the next one? And I didn't know how to plan. I don't know anything about planning at that time. And I was like waiting for my coworkers to be like, oh, we have these trips and this trips. And I realized I kind of got lucky, like, right? I got invited on this trip with a group of coworkers, but I did find out that wasn't really something that they personally did regularly. It was more like this bucket list trip for them. And that ended up being the case for a lot of people that I knew. I'm like, they didn't like go backpacking as much. They maybe did it once. It was kind of like only the big hitters too. And I'm like, there's so many places we could go. So that particular group of friends didn't really have plans to do anything else. And when I didn't have that like perceived comfort of a group invite, I also kind of like started to realize, well, okay, if I want to do this thing, like I'm going to have to feel more confident in either like planning my own trips, like, or like leading my own trips and taking other people, which I had like just gone on my own backpacking trip. I'm like, how do I be a leader? And or go out on my own, which was also scary. Like, do I even know what to do to be safe? And from that place, I realized that even for my first backpacking trip, like I kind of went into it naively. Like my group didn't really tell me the trip plan. They didn't really they told me basic things, but when we talk about trip planning with our clients, it's like you build out this itinerary, you get your group on the same page, you make sure they feel safe and empowered to like make safety calls for themselves too when they're out there because they know the trip. They understand the risks. They understand all these things. Like I didn't have any of that. And I didn't know at all what I was doing. I wouldn't have known what to do if I had gotten separated from my group or if I had gotten in trouble. Like I would have not known what to do. Like we had a smooth trip and that's great. And that's what led me to like want to learn more, but it was also a little bit risky, right? A little bit unprepared, right? Um, but something from that trip, like it unlocked something with me, and I needed to do whatever it took to do more of it, to like make the outdoors and adventures and something like that an integral part of my life. Like I knew that had to happen. And you know, I I really wanted to know the version of me that like did these hard things. So I wanted to know her more. So I like put all of my energy into learning how to become that woman, like adventurous, outdoorsy, brave, confident, strong, resilient. These were all the things that I had never really seen myself as being, and backpacking opened up that possibility for me. So I went like all in on it. Like I just had no hesitation. I was like, this is what I want. I feel like the most alive doing this, and I want more. And so from that point on, I just like dove headfirst into learning everything I could to be more self-sufficient, to be more self-reliant, to be a leader, to be somebody who could be the planner and plan the trips and get the people to come on them, right? So I took classes, I read tons, I sought out mentorships, I went on guided experiences, I got certifications, I got into climbing and mountaineering and canyoneering. Like I did all these additional things that also would build my skills. And I was backpacking more than ever and hiking more than ever, and going on different trips that were like kind of building my resume and like teaching me more things and building experience, right? And I made it my mission to spend as much time as possible outside, because that was the thing that was like really lighting me up at the time. And I was obsessed with becoming the woman who not only went on the adventures, but like also invited others on them, who didn't miss out because she was too scared, who saw herself as brave and confident, who really took her safety seriously and took responsibility for that too, because I think that's such an important part about getting outside. And it did take a ton of work, because like I didn't have any kind of roadmap to follow. Like I remember reading, y'all, the thick instruction manual for my Garmin at the time. Like the tools now are so much better, but I used, and these weren't bad either, but they were just like harder to learn. I had a Garmin 64 ST, and it was my first GPS device. It was like one of the first things that I purchased after that backpacking trip, because I was like, I do not want to get lost. So I like made it my mission to know how to like take navigation under my own hands so I would never get lost. And I got a Garmin 64 ST, and I remember reading that manual like from front to back cover of like how to use it, and spending hours like fiddling with the Garmin. I don't even remember. I think it was called Basecamp. It was like a desktop app I had to do, and I had to like learn how to sync everything. It was all very complicated at the time, but I figured it out. And, you know, I just had to forge my own path. Again, I didn't have any kind of like roadmap or step-by-step system to follow, or any friends or families, like especially in the beginning, to take me under their wing and show me the ropes. But each step forward felt like the right direction. So I just kept showing up for that, and for her, and showing up for the future me that I wanted to create it. And y'all, like, I mean, if you're new here, you don't know, you might not know this, but like that one backpacking trip, the very first backpacking trip that I went on, it literally had a butterfly effect on my life. So much so that like after 7 years of going all in on the outdoors. So I remember that was that first backpacking trip. I went all in. I just like all in for 7 years, like really growing and expanding my skills, and like becoming more confident, and growing my resume of like things that I was doing outdoors, and pushing that limit, and like learning more. After 7 years of doing that, and becoming the woman who could do those kinds of things, I eventually did quit my engineering job, because I became like passionate about like really teaching other people and helping them have this kind of experience, but like in a way shorter time frame than I was when I had to first learn how to be self-sufficient and create this for myself, and ended up building She Dreams of Alpine to teach other women the same thing, so that they don't have to navigate so many different, textbooks and manuals and all the things to learn how to become safe, confident, and self-sufficient backpackers. Like, it can be simple and so doable and so achievable for you to feel self-reliant, to plan your own trips, to create these amazing kind of adventures for yourself, for your friends, for your families, and not have to wait on other people. And that is exactly the work that we do now in our programs. And specifically the Backpacking Badass program is like our kind of flagship program where we teach this. And I have been actually teaching that program since I left my engineering job for over 6 years now. So we have enrolled over 1,900 women into that program. And I only feel more passionate than ever about helping women step into their most adventurous versions of themselves, because I know how much of a transformation it provided me and like where that took me, right? And I just know that there's so much more than just like adding a hobby into your list of things to do. Like it can literally reinvent how you see yourself. And I don't want you to feel like you have to keep putting this dream off or keep putting it on the back burner anymore because you don't have the tools or like you don't really know where to start, right? Like I have simplified that for you. And I want you to have the most adventurous kind of year in 2026. And for that year to be like your year of yes, the beginning of it all, the year that like everything unlocks for you. And I want you to be stretched to grow in ways that you never could have imagined, to see yourself expanding beyond the limiting beliefs that you always held about yourself, like being too shy or not brave enough or not tech savvy or maybe feeling too old or too slow. Like these are all lies that we just tell ourselves. And I want you to build a resume of memories that you're going to get to cherish for a lifetime and tell stories about, and memories that expand like what's possible for you, that leave you grinning ear to ear every time you think of them. I want you to like have the skill of creating peace and joy whenever you need it because you're confident to go outside, to go into nature, to get that peace and joy whenever you want it, to get away from the constant grind of day to day. I was just thinking about how like last weekend I went climbing with a couple of friends, just in a local place near us. We went outside, we went climbing. And oh my gosh, I just felt like such a little kid. Like it was just so much fun. We got on some new stuff that we had never done before. And I remember getting to the top of a climb that I had just led and just smiling so hard, cheesing so hard. And I just don't get that a lot anymore. Like I get that when I go outside and I get that when I go on adventures. Like it brings something out of me, even just in these like little trips that I do. And I want that for you. Like I feel like you can definitely create that for yourself. I want you to feel like life is happening for you, like you are a creator of it, like that it's not happening to you, that you have more say in it. And I want you to build that adventurous community you've been looking for. So many of you tell me that you want more adventure friends and people to do it with. And it really does. It really, really, truly does start with you taking ownership of your own safety and feeling more confident and self-sufficient in your own skills. That kind of energy attracts the adventurous community that you're looking for. So I want that for you. I want you to feel more capable than ever to be a leader out there on the trail, even if you're just trusting yourself with leading friends and family. Like, I don't want you to, if you've never really thought like, oh, I'm not, usually my husband does this, or usually so-and-so does this. Like, I'm not a leader like that for an outdoorsy thing. Like, I want you to squash that and feel like you can step into your own leadership energy, because I think we all have it in us. And I think women make exceptional leaders out there on the trail. And I want you to end this year, like the year, so grateful this year and next year that you took a chance to see what you're made of, to like leave it all on the table, to do it for the plot, to see what kind of like wild and fun stories are created from it. I want you to have so much fun and so much growth in this next season. So to wrap up this episode, if you're still here with me, if you're feeling like, yes, Allison, yes, I want that too, please, please, please do not sleep on our upcoming Backpacking Badass enrollment this November 17th through 21st, okay? We literally go all out for you during our Black Friday event. Like, we try to make it so much fun because we just want to end the year. Like, we were so committed to you. We believe in this possibility for you so hard. Like, even if you're doubting yourself a little bit, like, we will hold you up with belief, right? I'm going to be dropping some wild surprises, like even more wild than the ones you're going to read about. If you join our early bird list, you'll get a list of like some of the bonuses we're dropping, but there's even more surprises. We want to make it so easy for you to like make this dream inevitable, right? So make sure that you get on this list, our early bird wait list, by going to shedreamsofalpine.com/bird. Sign up for it. Even if you're already on our mailing list, you'll want to be on the early bird wait list. I am going to be sharing so many details about what's in store as we get closer, but y'all, it's going to be amazing. And 2026 is going to be the best year. And I want to help hundreds of women unlock that reality for themselves. Like the most adventures, the most ear grinning, like all of the things, to feel stronger than ever, to feel braver than ever. So I want you to come join us in there, because we're going to do that work inside of the Backpacking Badass program. We are going to be literally supporting you every single step of the way. And I cannot wait. Like it's going to be so much fun. All right. Okay. That is it for today, my friends. I hope you enjoyed hearing this story. If you hadn't heard it before, I hope that it inspired you. If you did, I hope you learned something new, or you took something else away from it. And I really can't wait to hear your story. What is the first backpacking trip that you're going to have? Like, that's one of my most favorite parts about the Backpacking Badass program, is getting to read, like we call it with our clients, their graduation stories. It's like one of the best highlights of my week is when we get a graduation trip in our email inbox, and we get to read all about it. We get to read about your transformations and see what impact it made on you. Because for everybody, it's different. And what the takeaway is different. And what trips they go on are different. And that is just such a beautiful thing. So I cannot wait to hear your story as well. So we'll talk next week. I'm going to wrap this up, and see you then. Bye. Hey, I wanted to thank you real quick for tuning into the show and listening all the way to the end. If you love this episode and you want deeper support in becoming a safe, confident, and self-sufficient hiker and backpacker, then head over to shedreamsofalpine.com/waitlist to learn more about our Backpacking Badass coaching program, where I teach you absolutely everything you need to know to be self-reliant on the trails and stop waiting around on others for the adventure invite. So I'd love to help you more in your journey of stepping into your adventurous identity, and that program is the absolute best place for us to start working together. So again, that's shedreamsofalpine.com/waitlist, and you can learn all about it there. So that's it for today, folks. I hope you get to spend some time outside this week, and I'll be back very soon with a brand new episode. Bye.